Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 190. Today I'm going to talk about Lost Legacy, and this is the sequel, so to speak, for Love Letter. It's from the same designer as Love Letter. Now this is the Japanese edition. It does come with Japanese text and English text on the cards. I'm sorry to tell you that you're going to have a very hard time finding a copy of this, but if they are smart, then somebody like AEG, possibly the Dice Tower Publishing, because I've heard Tom on his podcast say that he's kind of looking at some of these card games coming over from Japan specifically, and I think Korea as well, he mentioned. If they're smart, they will pick this up and publish it. So there's kind of your review. So let me just show you how to play the game. And it's basically like Love Letter, but it's got all kinds of sort of twists and turns. So let me show you how it works, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. Okay, so just a little quick component comment here. You can see this is a small box. Now I do have the card sleeved in here. It does make it fit snug, but it does fit flush. So I got the card sleeved here. These are with the Mayday green sleeves. Those are like 2.5 by 3.5 inches for Magic cards. So they do fit sleeved, and obviously you want to sleeve these initially because, you know, if they get little dings, they've got black borders on there. You're going to be able to deduce easier, basically cheat, without even helping yourself about which card is what, and that's obviously very important for a Love Letter type of game. So in the box here you're going to get Japanese and English rules, and then there's also a Japanese crib sheet, but you can find the English version of that on Board Game Geek. And then you can see we've got basically 2 decks of cards here. So let's take a look at one of these cards here. So this one here is just, you can see it says Lost Legacy there. And you got a bunch of Japanese text there and then some very tiny English text. It's not too bad because you kind of learn what they do pretty quickly here. So each of these has a Lost Legacy, and these behave a little bit differently. But basically the object of the game is to discover this and find that. And whoever discovers this is the winner of the game. And then in the lower right hand corner you can see there's a small little symbol there for this set. And then you got this small symbol here, you know, for this set here. And so basically it comes with the same game, the same set of rules for each game, but you've got 2 different decks that you can play the game with. So in each game, again, the object is to be the one to find the Lost Legacy or to eliminate all of the other players. Now you can also mix decks. So I could take, let's say, the 4 from one deck, and then the 5 from this deck, and then the 1 from this deck, and then the X's from another deck, and mix and match them. And we've actually done this quite a bit. Now honestly, I've played this probably about 30 times or more, and we played with each of the basic decks, and then with tons of variants of the different mixed decks, and for a few games we'll say, oh, this is the best deck we've made, but then we make some tweaks and say, no, this is the best deck we made. I'll talk more about that in the comments at the end. But let me show you how to play. So the game is pretty much like Love Letter. We're going to have a deck. Let's say we've got 3 players. Each of them is going to get a card. We're going to put the deck here in the center, and then you're going to take one card here, maybe turn it sideways or something. This is going to be the Ruins here. So you've got the main draw deck and then the Ruins. Everybody's got a card. And then on your turn, you're going to basically draw a card, and you take a look at the 2 cards you have in your hand, and you play one of them. And then when you play it, you basically do its effect here. And so the cards have all kinds of different abilities, and I'm not really going to go into too much of these. Basically what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to make guesses about what people have in their hands, possibly eliminate them. Certain cards, like here's a good example of one here. So this one says here at the bottom, when this card is in your hand and is seen, discard this card and get the hand of the player who looked at it. So somebody may play a card to say, like, look at your hand, maybe try to guess, you know, the card that you have and then eliminate you, kind of like the I can't remember what the number 1 card is in Love Letter, but you know, you can make a guess and then try to eliminate them. So if they do that to you here, basically you say, haha, I have this X, and you get the last card in their hand and then they're eliminated. So there's some cool different cards like that. So you're going to keep playing until either everybody else is eliminated and then you're the only one left and you'll win that game or round. Or if we've gone all the way through the draw deck here, and then what you want to have at that point is the lowest card. So unlike Love Letter, you don't want the highest numbered card, you want the lowest card. And if you have an X at the end of the game, it's basically worthless. You don't want to end up with an X. So in this game, the lower number cards have better effects, but then again, you want to hold them to the end. So what's going to happen there is, let's say we've gone through the draw deck here, we've maybe got a couple of cards in the Ruins here, because certain cards that you play will maybe let you add cards to the Ruins, peek at cards in the Ruins, shuffle the Ruins up, things like that. And then you're going to basically call out numbers. So we're going to say, does anybody have the number 1? Well, this guy's got the number 1, so he's going to get to search first. Now he can either look at the card that's remaining in the other player's hands, or you can choose a card in the runes and then take a look at it. So he's going to look at it and say, choose that card. So this is the 8. He doesn't want to find this, so that's gone. What you're looking for is the Lost Legacy here. So if you choose the right card, let's say that was the Lost Legacy. I had the first guess because I had the number 1, and I choose that, then boom, I've got the Lost Legacy. I found it. I win. But then we're going to go up from there. Let's say number 1 didn't find it. So what are the other 2 cards left here? So again, this guy has the X, so he's out of it. So it said, does anybody have a 2? Nobody's got a 2. Anybody have a 3? Nobody has a 3. And the reason that you don't reveal your cards at the end is because if he had the Lost Legacy like so, then you don't obviously reveal, because I could also choose and say at 1, okay, Billy over here, you've got the Lost Legacy. He shows it to me, he's out. So you're going to work your way up from 1 to 8. And when you get to 5, if somebody has the 5, so if you have the 5 in your hand, you can basically investigate yourself and say, oh, guess what? I got it. I win. So the game is sort of like a hide the potato game or hide the tennis ball, where you've got the little cups and you're mixing them around and you say, okay, which one is it in? So you've got to basically, through the play of all these different cards, in both of the different decks, you're going to have to try to figure out where the stuff is and also try not to get eliminated first of all. So that's really the game in a nutshell. And let me go back to my talking head there and talk a little bit about how the different decks operate and things like that. Okay, hope you enjoyed that quick overview there. So let's just talk about the different decks. So you've got sort of your basic deck and then your advanced deck. Now the basic deck has less stuff that manipulates the ruins, whereas the advanced deck, that ruins pile can get kind of big. So if you're not careful, then you're not really going to know where that Lost Legacy could or could not be. And it also is a little bit more chancy that way, because if the rune has like 4 or 5 cards in it at the end of the game, then you may be like, well, boy, I know it's probably one of these 3 or 4, because maybe you've only seen 1 or 2 of the runes cards, and you pretty much know, let's say that the other players don't have the Lost Legacy. So there's a little bit of chance there, but I don't mind that. It makes it kind of exciting to be, so okay, I'm going to pick that one. Oh, I didn't get it, and then, okay, well, that eliminated it for everybody else, so they have less cards to choose from. So I don't mind that, but then the first deck seems to have a little bit more of the elimination stuff in it. So the games seem to be won based on elimination a little bit more often with the first deck than with the second deck. Now the really awesome thing is mixing the cards up. So as you learn all the different effects and the different situations that can happen with a certain group of cards, you go swap in the X's from one deck from the X's from the other deck. That really changes things up, because you know that, okay, I'm safe to kind of search a little bit better, or you have like the number 1 card that you don't want to have, because the number 1 in the basic deck is basically, if somebody sees that, you're gone. So you don't really want to hold that in your hand, but you want to hold it because at the end of the game you're going to get the first guess. Whereas the other number 1, it's not so bad, but if you put it down, it'll protect you from being eliminated. So if you play that card, it doesn't do anything, but if some other effect eliminates you, you basically turn it over, and then that cancels your elimination, so you get to live to fight another day. So there's just a bunch of variety of different things, lots of things to shuffle the runes, take discards from other players, throw them in the runes, maybe manipulate that main deck. The other thing that is very different, that will just change each deck up relatively dramatically, is that number 5 card, and that's the Lost Legacy. So in the basic deck, you just can't play it. You don't play it. If you get eliminated for some reason, it goes back into the main draw deck, and then you keep going from there. But you're basically stuck with it. So from pretty basic deduction, you can figure out if somebody has that. But the other Lost Legacy, you can actually play that, and when you play it, you discard it in front of you, and then from there it goes right into the runes, and then you shuffle up the runes. So just having that, switching that card out can really kind of, throw the dynamics one direction from another. So I really enjoyed it. I like the art on this. It's pretty basic art. It's got a definite, Japanese kind of flavor to it. Sort of, with the basic, simple pen strokes, which I really like, which goes back. My art history major stuff's kind of coming up here, but yeah, it's got that sort of feel to it. The text for the English is a little small, but yeah, it's not too bad, because there's only 16 cards at any given time, and you quickly kind of learn what the different X's and the 8s and the 7s and all that stuff do. And I like that you can customize it. I mean, you can just basically change your metagame. You know, with Love Letter is much more streamlined than this, and I think that kind of sets it apart from this. So it could be that folks that like Love Letter maybe wouldn't like this because it is a little bit more involved. It's a little bit more obtuse, you know, for as far as the deduction goes. But Love Letter will get samey, you know, relatively quickly. I mean, I still break Love Letter out once in a while, just because it's just, you know, it's a nice filler game. But this one's cool because, yeah, you can get a deck, and like I said, we've changed probably 4 or 5, maybe more than that, different decks. So we get kind of used to how the metagame plays out. Well, then we kind of swap cards around, and now we know this other card's in there, and that's really we gotta watch out for this other card. And so that shifts the metagame. So you can just kind of, you know, not infinitely probably, but you could kind of infinitely keep swapping different decks, and so we'll have a session, you know, we play like 10 games in an hour, or a little bit more than an hour, because it takes like 10 minutes. So you can play, you know, one deck, you play it, and then the cards that aren't in that deck, you just play the other deck and see how kind of wonky it is, and then swap cards out, and you just keep playing it. So it's really cool. So hopefully somebody brings it stateside and, you know, does a proper sort of English thing and stuff like that, where the, you know, the English text is more prevalent. So anyway, that's Lost Legacy, and you can probably dig this up. I think I got the last one that was on Board Game Geek. But anyway, that's Lost Legacy, so hopefully this video will be relevant within the next year. Okay, thanks.